Paranormal Rebel, Jason Stinson. I got a great show for you, as I always try to do. July 26th, this month, just in a couple weeks, in upstate New York, Palmyra, New York, we have a great, wonderful event for you. We have a bunch of awesome people coming down, including Denny and Tiff. We got a few other people, too, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I can't think off the top of my head. But well, anyway, so that's going to be fantastic. I hope these guys do get those tickets. They're pretty cheap. They're $55 a pop. We have, like I said, 3 or 4 buildings we get to look into and check out. So you're not going to want to miss that. That's going to be fantastic for you. I'm not going to lie. But anyway, tonight, the guest of honor for this evening, I have a good friend of mine, Jeff Allen. We're going to discuss all kinds of weird, fucked up shit, which I know you guys, I like personally. It's always cool to talk to Jeff. He's an awesome dude. So without further ado, I'll bring Jeff out. Have a great time, as always. So welcome back to the show, Jeff.
Hey, Jason. How's it going, man? I think we'll have to call this one in, and get Ripley's on the phone or something, because it's always a nightmare. Just anytime I get around anything electronic, man, it's always crazy. Let me just kind of give the listeners a little brief on who I am, what I do. For those that don't know me, for those that do, maybe you can just sit tight and hear my spiel all over again. I am what they call an empathic clairvoyant medium out of Galveston, Texas. And I do, by empathic meaning the spirits on the other side. They have the ability to put emotions and physical sensations in my body, as well as being clairvoyant. They send letters, numbers, pictures, symbols, and movies from the other side, and I use that to put everything together. And we use that to deliver messages to people and pass on blessings and let everyone know that the relatives are okay on the other side. I'm a former police officer, as well as I work missing person cases and work with law enforcement to find bodies that have been recovered or bodies that are missing. To work to try to help families bring close, solve some cases too. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. What I do. I've kind of been doing it for a number of years now. Got some good experience and got some pretty good knowledge in the field. I don't say that I'm an expert in everything, but I'm pretty good at some things, and other things I'm still learning. but I can say this: if anyone has done anything wrong in this field, I've done it, and I've learned from it, and I can speak to it, and I can tell you how not to make the same mistake. That's kind of me in a nutshell. I've had some pretty cool things going on. Got some cool things coming up. We've got Dash Beardsley's Wake the Dead Paracon on September 6th in Galveston Island, just south of Texas here. Now, that is going to be an amazing Paracon. You can Google Dash's name. It's D-A-S-H, just Dash, and then Beardsley, like as in you're wearing a beard, S-L-E-Y, and that's Dash Beardsley. You Google his name, his Paracon, there's a lot of information on the internet about him. Paracon is called Dash Beardsley's Wake the Dead, and I believe it's www.dashbeardsley's Paracon.com. Out information about that, the celebrities that are be here for the event and what have you. It would definitely be worth your while to look into it. If you're a paranormal investigator, a medium, or a light worker, anyone that's in this field, it will be worth your while to show up or at least inquire about what's going to go down that weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Dash, and matter of fact, Dash is going to be on Coast to Coast next Friday night at 1 a.m. Eastern, which would be, I guess, Saturday morning at 1 a.m. July 11th. So you're listening to me to tune into Coast to Coast with George Norrie and listen to Dash. He's one of my mentors. Whenever I make a mistake in this field, which is about every week, I call Dash and say, this is what I did, and why is it not working? Or why am I really being punished for doing this? And he's like, well, it's because you did this wrong and that wrong, and don't do it again. And I say, oh, okay, well, now that we figured out that I've done something wrong. How do I fix it? And he's a go-to guy. He's one of my go-to guys to tell me how to fix things. So he's a wealth of information. He's also known as the ghost man of Galveston. He's just got an awesome knowledge of Galveston Island, the history of it, as well as the spiritual activity here. He's the man who does the ghost tours on the island. His ghost tours are the best in Galveston. So anyways, that's a shameless plug for my buddy. What you been up to, Jason? What's been going on, man?
With me, not a damn thing, really. I'm working on my second book. I'm hoping to have that finished by, September, by the way. It's fun. Other than that, just trying to get the radio show going, doing some events here and there, book signing, so forth and so on, but nothing major.
Now, and I got to tell you, I wasn't aware that you had a second book that you're working on. What's the premise for the second book?
The second book is going to be called Feeble Minds. It's a nice little tale of basically my early years as a more, I hate using the term because it's not accurate, but as a more professional paranormal investigator, I hate using that term. Like I said, it's not accurate at all, but that's when I formed a team. We had, gadgets and gizmos and so forth and so on. And it's going back a long freaking time ago. Well, anyway, we trespassed in this one building that, to this day we still love.
You don't recommend doing, by the way, right? you don't recommend trespassing, right?
What?
You don't recommend anyone trespass, right?
Recommend, however, if you're going to do it, be sure that, you're prepared for the consequences. That's the only thing I can say. I do recommend people to go ahead and do what you can to get permission. However, if you do wind up trespassing, you get hurt or anything like that, keep in mind that's your own fucking stupidity. Don't go ahead and sue anyone else.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm kind of looking forward to that book coming out. Yeah, because you're big in the world. I'm like, as far as a paranormal investigator, I'm not. I'm just more of a medium. I'm kind of the guy. I'm just lazy, I guess. I don't know. And so I look up to you guys that actually have the guts to actually get out there with the equipment, track stuff, go through it all, spend the time, and you got more of a passion than I do. I commend you for it. We need more people like you.
Yeah. I wish there was more people like me, but sadly everybody's so hyped up on what they learn from a TV show, or they get some impression from someone else who thinks they're big and bad in the paranormal field, and they think they have all the answers, and everything is turned into one big fucking pile of crap anymore, and it's kind of sickening, if you want my honest opinion.
Yeah, there is a lot of I don't know, in this field, there's a lot of holier than thou attitude that gets thrown around, and
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm an awesome medium. I'm great, but I'm open to always learning, to talking with other mediums, to helping out other people. And I just think that there's this attitude of our team. We know what we're doing, and if you're not on our team, you don't have a clue. That's not true. It's, these teams, all these teams need to help each other. Eventually we can come up with some equipment. We can better our equipment. We can better our research. We can better our procedures, our processes. We're going to prove this in our lifetime. We're not only going to thin the veil. We'll eliminate the veil and just make it transparent. And it's just a matter of coming up with the equipment to do it. If you look back, over the course of centuries, this spirit work and trying to prove spirits have always been here, man. I mean, they go back in biblical scriptures. Ever since man was invented, there's been people talking to ghosts. So for people to come today and say, "Oh, there's no such thing as ghosts," it's kind of silly to me.
Yeah.
I think you would have a harder time proving to me that ghosts don't exist than proving to me that they do, because it's everywhere now. And with everyone having a camera, with the great electronic equipment we have now, all this, it's been proven over and over and over. Sure, there's charlatans, sure, there's frauds, sure, there's people who just steal, and so they're making stuff up. Sure, that happens. It's going to happen in any field, any business. You look at surgeons, they're bad surgeons. You look at dentists, they're bad dentists. I mean, a cop, they're a bad cop. a bad fireman. I mean, in any field. So you're going to have people that give any field a black eye because, let's face it, we recruit from the human race. The human race is made up of fallible people. So anytime you have to recruit fallible people, you're going to have problems. But yeah, I'm going to get off my soapbox on that, but it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of my attitude. My attitude in the paranormal field is that there shouldn't be an attitude. And if someone's just out there trying to get attention, they're gonna be known. It's gonna be very obvious, very evident, very quickly to those that have worked in the field, those that study the field, those that know what they're doing. That those that jump into the field that just want a quick shot of attention or stardom, it's real evident and it's real obvious, and then that's when we get the people snubbing people. But I don't know. I just welcome everybody as all. You know, I think no matter who you are, if you're interested in the field, I could learn something from you, and you could learn something from me, and I think that's the way the attitude is.
That's the way it should be. We should all be learning from one another. I mean, there's a lot of key points going on that people fail to neglect. One, the equipment that we use was not designed for paranormal investigating. Get it out of your fucking head that just because you got a flashy little K2 meter, you can be a ghost hunter. No, that equipment is experimental. It's not made for ghost hunting. None of it was. And get that out of their head. And two, stop thinking you have the damn answers. And three, stop trying to be the most popular fucking person out there. Because let's just face it, you're just a jackass. You know what I mean? You're a fuck up, you know? Just like anybody else. And that's what it's turned into, one big popularity race. And people in this community will stab your ass in the fucking back and twist the knife and then whip it right up just to get on top of you. And I look at it like, why? Why?
Right.
Because you got 3,000 friends on Facebook, dude? Really? Facebook. You know, no motherfuckers will show up to your funeral if you died. Not one.
Yeah. Right. And you know what? And until somebody cuts me a check, it doesn't matter.
You got that right.
It's the man who cuts me a check. That's the man I'm devoted to. So, but yeah. So anyways. Hey, so I had something cool happen last week. Well, not really cool, but something different, something interesting, and something that maybe your listeners might be able to help me out in understanding, because I'm trying to piece this one together. I haven't quite done it all. I've contacted some of my mentors, but we're still kicking around what exactly went down. And I have my theories on what happened, but I actually would like to put this story out to your listeners. Have them call in with their theories on what I experienced and what happened, and maybe kind of kick around their theories on this, because I don't know. I really don't know. I have my take on it, and I'll save that for maybe towards the end of the show on what I think occurred, but I'd really like some input from the listeners on it. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, what happened?
You there?
I'm here. What happened last week?
Oh, okay. Well, let me start. Here's the situation, and I don't want to name names or anything like that, call anyone out, because it's kind of a sensitive subject. Because there is an ongoing investigation. You got me? Can you hear me still?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, I'll just kind of go into it. I was contacted by a friend of mine whose son had crossed over on June 28th, so just about a week and a half ago. And the crossing over was suspicious. She wasn't sure if it was a suicide or an accidental death. He was under the age of 30, so this was a young man. I told her that I don't normally agree to do a reading or a channeling for someone who has crossed over this soon, because I don't feel it's right for the family for me to come in and do a channeling. I feel a family needs to grieve. I feel a family needs to mourn. And they need to do it as a family, not with the help of the media. I feel that's something that needs to be done internally. And so I usually give the families, a little bit of time, a few months, and then say, hey, come talk to me in a couple months when things have settled down a little bit, the emotions are a little bit more controllable. We don't have, so much energy swirling around, going up and down with the mood swings and all that. But this being a friend of mine, and I felt that there may be an prior to the cremation of the body. And so I thought, well, if I go in the channel and I get something, we might be able to get to the body before it's cremated and might be able to obtain some type of evidence in the process to try to verify something.
Yeah.
So I agreed to do it. I've never channeled this close to a crossing, so I really didn't know what to expect when I did it. I wasn't even sure if I could do it, to be honest with you, because I've never attempted this. Well, when I went into it, I got hit with, first, his presence was known. We made some quick validation just to say, okay, this is him. Stuff that I couldn't know that she could validate. And I told her, I said, I don't want to spend too much time with his energy because he's still collecting himself on the other side. And so he's still learning how to send signals, to send signs. He's still learning how to manipulate that energy. I mean, it just happened. So I don't know if he's even going to know how to do it, but if I can get to him, I can teach him a little bit, but I don't know what's going to happen. So we went in, we got a couple quick validations, said, okay, this is definitely him, without a doubt. Then I asked, okay, what happened? Show me. And but whenever I say that, or whenever I talk to an entity and I ask them, go ahead, show me, that's giving them permission to put in, not for them to be invoked into my special, but for them to go ahead and hit me with your best shot, give me anything you got. And he chose to hit me empathically.
Yeah.
And what he did was, next thing I know, I'm on the floor vomiting profusely. My stomach is wrenching, and I'm unable to breathe. And when I say I'm unable to breathe, yeah, it's always hard to breathe when you're vomiting, but my diaphragm was frozen to where I couldn't inhale. And so I had to validate, how did he cross over? Well, he did cross over by choking on his own vomit. He suffocated. That was verified.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, I said, the emotion that I'm getting is not that of a suicide. The emotion was not a depressive. No, usually when there's a suicide, you're going to get hit with emotive depression, big depression. And so I didn't get any of that. And so I said, you know what? I said, this is accidental. So he didn't know what he was doing, or he didn't realize what he took this doing. And so this wasn't intentional. Now, could it be? Maybe. Can I prove any of this in a court of law? Not at the moment. What we are waiting on now is a toxicology report, and that's going to show what I felt killed him, what I felt caused this reaction in his body.
Yeah.
Since then, Mother has done some investigation, and everything's kind of coming to fruition that I'm correct in my impression. Still, not enough to convict, not enough to go to court. So, as much as a mother's love for her child wants justice, it's one of those where it's like, okay, we have to wait for the police. You've got to wait for the autopsy report. When the autopsy report comes back, the police are going to look at it, they're going to start asking questions, let them argue. This is all going to unravel. Yeah. Nowadays, with texting and Facebook, and everyone has an electronic fingerprint on everything they do anymore. There's video cameras. It's really hard to get away with anything and lie about it anymore if the police really want to investigate. And something like this, I feel like there will be an investigation without a doubt. If not, I would push for it as a parent as well. So, but I want to put this out there to the listeners and maybe get some of their input if they've experienced anything, if there are any mediums out there. My question is this. I was hit so hard with such now I've had readings where the spirit has given me an empathic impression physically, that's thrown me under a table with leg cramps before. But nothing this severe. This was literally, I was grasping for breath to the point where I wasn't sure if I could get it. And so I was just wondering, I have my theories on why the energy was so strong and why it was so direct. But I'm just curious to what your listeners might have to say about it. If you got any callers that like to call in? We haven't even said the calling number yet.
Yeah.
Let's put the calling number out there, Jason. See if we can get some callers. I want to kind of discuss this and find out with some listeners maybe what happened.
Oh, well, we can put the caller number out there if you want, but, you know, I don't know if anyone calls. Normally they don't call.
Oh, okay. What's your take on this, Jason? What do you think happened to me?
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely worth checking into more. I definitely think that, you know, more evidence is going to be needed to be provided.
Yeah. And that's just, and here's kind of the thing is, my hunch on this whole thing is that the reason why I was hit so hard, I mean, I usually will get hit with a crossing of something me, for instance, nausea. Or say, for instance, I'll start coughing. And that usually means that the person either had emphysema or they died of lung cancer. Usually that'll be relative to their crossing. But don't give me full-blown lung cancer to where I can't breathe and I'm passing out on the floor. Usually they'll lighten up on me a little bit. This reading was so strong. I mean, literally, I was on the floor. My hunch is that since he had just crossed over, he was still trying to gather himself. And he wasn't sure how to manipulate his energy yet. So it's almost like when we're born, we learn how to tie our shoes. Well, the first time we tie our shoes, it takes us 20 minutes because we still don't really know how to do the rabbit that goes around the thing and the rabbit jumps through the hole and all that, and we have to learn how to do it. Now, as adults, we can tie our shoes in 2 seconds. But as a child who's learning how to do it, it takes forever, we make mistakes, the shoelaces go flying all over the places, we might even break a shoelace because we pulled it too hard, what have you. So my hunch is that it's no different when we cross over to the other side, trying to learn how to manipulate the energy that's on that side to send signals to this side. So because he knew that he had an opportunity to contact me and get to his mom, he was giving me an avalanche. He didn't want to miss it. So he was dumping everything on me that he could so that he could get his opportunity to get through. And it was like almost kind of like an all or nothing kind of feeling. Like, hey, I've got one shot at this, so I'm going to dump everything on you. I'm sorry if it kills you, but hey, man, I need to know what happened. Or I need to know what happened. And so, you know, it's kind of like they're learning to throw a frisbee. You know, there are guys who play disc golf, you know, frisbee golf and stuff, and these guys are awesome. I get out there, I throw a frisbee, I might kill somebody. I could kill the guy next to me. Who knows? I mean, as soon as I throw a frisbee, it's like, okay, who knows where this thing's going to land? We might be chasing this for years. And so my hunch is that what happened was he crossed over, he really didn't know how to control his energy. You know, he's very gifted at doing it, and we all are once we cross over. We have that ability. We just got to learn how to manipulate that energy in an effective way and not, like, scare people. Now, that being said also, you'll hear a lot of people see their relatives before their funerals and after their crossings. That comes from an apparition. Someone will say, hey, you know, when someone will make a pact with someone first, say, hey, well, if you die, come back as a ghost and come to like a thief. And usually they do. There are a lot of people that do. And about a week ago, that was interesting, where during the reading, I looked at the family. It was a family. And I looked at the family and said, this person's appeared to you all an apparition. You said, you know they're okay. And they all kind of smiled with each other and said, you know what? You're right. She showed herself to all of us individually at different times. I'm like, well, then what am I here for? Like, you know she's on the other side. You know she's okay. What do you need from? What do you need for? I said, you can ask and you get your signs. And I said, well, you know, she's not showing signs anymore. And I said, okay, well, what happens is once, you know, we crossed over, we've got all this energy, we show up as an apparition. Now, to show up as an apparition takes a lot of energy. Because you're showing yourself, you need to appear in a form to a non-sensitive person or someone who may be non-sensitive. So you really have to collect yourself, and you got to know what you're doing to manipulate that energy. And not all spirits know how to do that. It's difficult to learn how to do that. A lot of them will send just time, because it's much easier. And feathers, or they'll put a penny somewhere, or they'll leave toothpicks, or they'll leave little signs, rather than coming as a full-blown apparition. And I've always told my friends, if you cross over before I do not show up at the foot of my bed as an apparition. You'll scare the living hell out of me. Don't do it. Okay? Send me signs. Make me smell the perfume you used to wear, or make me smell the cigar you used to smoke, or something like that, and I'll get it. Okay? Don't say up on, hey, how you doing? That's not cool. Not for me. I'm not a paranormal guy. I don't like that. Jason, you'd probably be like, hey, that is really cool, do it. Not me. And so it's a lot of times your relatives won't show up as an apparition because they don't want to scare you, or they don't want to scare the kids. So they know it'll happen. Or it's the opposite. They'll show up once as an apparition, and then you're asking for them every 5 minutes. And they're like, look, I ain't got the energy for that.
Yeah.
And then what happens is they will say, well, he showed up once, and then he won't show up anymore. Well, it's because it takes a lot out of him to do that. And then if he shows up once, and then he shows up again when you ask him, then you're going to demand it. And then when he doesn't show up, or if he can't get his collective energy, you're going to think, oh my God, he's not around anymore. Well, that's not true. It's just you're asking too much. And so there's a lot of different there's a lot of different takes on why, and it's not an excuse that the paranormal doesn't exist, or it's not an excuse that they can't collect their energy. It's just that, hey, they're doing stuff like you're doing stuff. It's like I got friends that I text. I'm a big texter. I don't like talking on the phone. And whenever I call someone, they're always busy anyway, so I'm like, just text you and then text me back whenever. Well, it's kind of the same on the other side. If you're constantly texting the other side saying, show up to me, show up to me, show up to me, and you're like, hey, I can't be an apparition 24/7. I lived in my life.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side now. I'm going to send you signs, and I might show up here and there, but I can't make you an addict, by showing up every time you ask.
Yeah.
Then we're going to have ghosts walking around. Because then everyone will ask all their relatives to always show up. And you can imagine the confusion if everybody thought everybody's dead relatives all the time. If we had crossed over, we just stayed. That'd be a nightmare on Earth. We can't have that. We got overpopulation now.
Oh, we're well overpopulated.
Yeah. We can't take care of the people we got here now. Now we got ghosts standing in line for attention, Not to mention the electrical interference that it would cause. Nobody would be able to watch TV. Your Wi-Fi would constantly be shut down. Your cell phone would never work. So when people were asking, well, I want my grandfather to come to me. I want him to come to me. Be careful what you're talking about, because, these things, they do corrupt your electrical appliances. They have to. They draw on the electrical energy. So if you're asking Grandpa to constantly be with you, hey, Grandpa, I need you in today. Hey, Grandpa, where are you? Hey, Grandpa, hey, Grandpa. Your house is going to become an electrical firestorm of spiritual energy and residual electrical energy and static energy. And you're going to be going through microwaves, you're going to be going through cell phones, you're going to be buying a new TV every week. It's just not, you're not going to live your life. You're going to be living your life for a ghost. And they know this on the other side. They know that we have to be let to live our lives out. But they also want us to know that, hey, we watch over you. We are here, but we're not going to live your life for you. So you've got to go on. But they will send signs to help the breathing process, the mourning process, that kind of stuff. And so it's been interesting. I mean, I learned something new every day, but this last week I learned a lot. And then, excuse me, I also had an interesting night Sunday night. Um, and I'll say this, Jason, you and I did your show on September 10th. And give her some advice on clearing her out, and she couldn't get through it. The call kept dropping. There was no reason for it, as well as we had all kinds of EVPs, for instance. But I called up her. I spoke with Tammy on Sunday, and says, because I still got the stupid attachment. I said, you know what? Let's get rid of it. And she's like, well, I've had a bishop out here, left the house. I had Phil Belanger come out and try to help with it, and he just won't leave. And I'm like, let's try a different tact with it. Let's really rile him up so he can burn out his energy. Well, what happened was I got him real riled up for this, for sure, where he started shaking her head and stuff. And I said, Tammy, you can't be afraid. And that's, I guess, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. When we fear these things, and fear is very real in the paranormal realm. I mean, come on, that's why they make movies, to scare people. People love to be scared. I don't, but a lot of those in the paranormal do. However, this is something that actually really terrifies me, beyond just being scared, a little nervous. And when we start playing with these things that actually invoke real fear into us, that fear feeds that energy. And we look at it like this. What happens to our bodies chemically and electrically when we sense fear or anxiety? That means our brains are firing a lot more. We get a lot more electrical impulses going off. It's that fight or flight kick in, that your senses get heightened. Your ability to see things, your hearing increases. Your sensitivity to touch. That's why you get the hair that things up in the back of your neck. That's the goosebumps. What happens is when we are afraid, our brain kicks our body into sensitivity overdrive. And so we're able to pick up on things, hear things. And basically it goes back to the dinosaur days when we had to outrun dinosaurs. We'd be out hunting for a tiger to eat, and all of a sudden we'd see Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it's like, uh-oh, let's get out of here. And where can we hide? And you have to look, you have to listen, you have to feel, you have to smell, you have to taste. Your senses have to be heightened. That's chemically and historically God's have made our bodies the place we can survive on Earth, not get eaten by dinosaurs. We fast forward that to the paranormal, and when our energy heightens like that, and we start bouncing around our brains, and we start putting out a lot of electricity like that, of course, it's going to feed whatever it is in the room. So if whatever it is in the room, that spirit or entity, is causing that reaction in you, that fear, it's going to pull your energy. So one, it's going to get more energy, it's going to get more active, and two, it's going to take away from you, it's going to drain you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, Andy.
Hello?
I'm there.
Oh, okay. I heard someone in the background. So, is that Tiffany? Did you have a question? No?
Say that again?
Jason?
You there?
Yeah. I heard a female's voice in the background. I didn't know if it was Tiffany or the customer.
Yeah, one of the kids.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so that's and then now if you look at a religious stance on the fear versus not fear, they'll tell you that if you run into these negative entities, demonic, whatever, and you start feeling fear, that's your lack of faith in your higher power, and that will also feed the negative type entities and all that. So if you're working in this field and you're dealing with negative entities or demonic or if you're working in cleansing, stuff like that, fear is going to be your biggest enemy, fear and anxiety. And I'm a natural sufferer of anxiety. It's happened my whole life. It's my worst enemy. I have to fight it every day. And so when I go into these readings, when I do cleansings, when I do all this kind of work with the negative stuff, I really have to check my faith. I really have to know in my brain and in my heart that when I go into these situations, that even if this demon comes out and kills me dead, breaks me down, I'm still going to heaven. I'm going with Christ and going to the good place. So the fear isn't there. I'm like, okay, well, so you want to send me home early? And I'll go home. Uh, whatever. You can't touch me. And so it's just kind of one of those things. Fear and paranormal go hand in hand. It's why people buy movie tickets. And so, but while you're doing the investigation and while you're doing the reading, when you come across, if you ever come across any fear, you need to pay attention to why you're feeling fear, and then also what's causing the fear, and then what you could be feeding with that fear. And sometimes it's really hard because anxiety blinds us, and it makes it so that we can't even function. You know, anxiety can make us we can't even move. We'll be frozen in our footsteps, and we just want to run. It can take us back when we were 4 years old and sticking our head under the covers because of lightning outside during a storm. It takes us back to being that little boy again. And it's very real, and it happens to everybody. It happens all the time. That's why a lot of paranormal themes, they go out as a team. That way, if you see someone starting to get a little spooked, say, hey, why don't you go jump outside for a minute and collect yourself. And that way the investigation can go on. But a ghost isn't going to tell you, hey, why don't you jump outside and collect yourself. A ghost is going to say, keep being afraid of me because I need the energy. I need to pull that from you. Making your brain fire a lot faster, a lot more rapid, and with different frequencies. And I need that.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So that's just kind of my take on it, but it's very real, and so it's something that a lot of people don't consider when they start doing paranormal investigations, or they start doing readings, or they start getting involved in this, that just because you may have a handle on your fear right now, doesn't mean that when you go home and you lay in bed at 3 in the morning, you're all by yourself, and you wake up, and all of a sudden a foot flies across the room. You know, it's going to instill a little bit of fear. Well, you also got to remember that when they start doing this stuff, moving books around, start slamming doors, start talking, EVPs, the whole entire thing, they're making the presence known. Especially if they're demonic or if they're negative in any way or they're just mean. They're doing it. It's a smoke and mirror show. They're doing it for attention. They're doing it to rile you up so that you get your energy up, so that it can pull it from you. And so what it is it's all an act. When they're trying to instill fear in these, they're like 2-year-olds trying to come to them.
Yeah.
They're running out of juice. They know they're cornered, and they want to fight back. And the only way they can fight back is with energy. And the only way they can get energy is from you, from your cameras, from batteries, residual static electricity, you name it. And so in order to get that, they've got to start putting on a show. Or otherwise, if they're not going to get what they need, they won't get their gas. They won't get their fuel. And so a lot of these times, when you go into these paranormal investigations and stuff, you just got to really check your fear. And it's very difficult because you don't want to go take a couple of Xanax to go do a paranormal investigation. You're going to miss things. Because you do want your senses heightened when you're on these investigations. You do want to be able to pick up, okay, all right, I just noticed the temperature. Or I just noticed the barometric pressure changes. I can feel it. My ears pop. If you take something for anxiety and you go in, you're not going to notice it. You're not going to care. So it's one of those things where it's one half. It's a double-edged sword. It's one half. You want your senses heightened, but you don't want the fear along with the heightened sense. So it's a constant check and balance. And when I'm doing medium work, especially if I'm channeling a situation such as like last week where the crossing wasn't pleasant and maybe even suspicious or even may have been foul play or suicide or murder, where you're going to have some real negative stuff in there, you have to know that going in that you're going to have to check your fear. Because you're going to be seeing things, you're going to be exposed to some things that are going to try to scare you just to get you out of there and just to steal your energy so that I can continue doing what it's doing. In Sammy's case, Sunday night, I really riled it up and was like, challenged it. And it paid me a visit. I'm not going to lie. It paid me a visit. And instead of doing a physical, making its presence known physically with me, which entities know that when they appear to me physically, it doesn't scare me. I'm so used to it. It happens all the time. So So it's kind of like just getting a knock on the door and having a friend come over to visit. It's not a big deal to me. So it's pulled the end around and hit me psychologically, empathically, psychologically. Now, by that what I mean is did it jump in? No, it didn't jump in. But what it did was it gave me impressions that were so confusing to me. I didn't know what to make of it, and it threw me off balance. And that gave me fear, because I didn't know what I was handling with. And so I'm like, uh-oh, I don't know what I'm up against here. What did I just do? And that caused fear. And so it's like cranking a jack-in-the-box open. You know, and that's exactly how it felt like. That stuff, the winding up, the music playing, what is this? What's going on? Oh, something's about to hit me. Something's about to hit me. Kaboom! Oh, and I got blindsided. And it happens, mediums, we get hit all the time with psychological hits because we're easy to get hit psychologically. And it's not that we're crazy, it's not, we know what's going on when it's occurring. We just sometimes can have a hard time combating it because it's like stepping into a ring with a black belt and you're a white belt. It's like, okay, I've got a couple moves I can do and I can win this fight. But if he starts reaching into his bag of tricks, I'm dead. And that's what he did. He started reaching his bag of tricks. I got pumped. But I'm out of it. But it was one of those where I had to call a couple mentors and kind of find out what did I do? What just happened? Did I just, and it was one of those things where, hey, you got to get your faith up. Faith. And I preach a lot about having a faith. It doesn't matter what your faith is. If you're going to work as a medium, you have to have a faith. If you want to work with tarot, if you want to work with Ouija boards, pendulums on chair, whatever, if you're going to contact the other side, you have to have a faith. You have to have a faith that will protect you. You have to have a book. You have to have a belief in something that if I do this, I know I'm okay. And it doesn't mean you have to be have any particular faith or walk. It just has to mean you have to stick fast to what you're walking and what your faith is. Because that's what's going to protect you. And so there's a lot to it. And, people don't really see this on TV. You see Long Island mediums, you see John Edward and stuff. You don't see what goes on behind the scenes. You see everything that's edited. And what you don't see that's not edited is probably what you should be seeing. Because those are the things that keep people safe, keep people sane, without having mental breakdown. There are a lot of times we get exposed to spirits that maybe lie or maybe deceitful, and they trick us. I've been tricked before. It happens to every medium. If there's a medium out there that thinks they've never been tricked and they haven't done enough readings, or they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
These things, they'll lie. They cheat with the children. And they'll give you a great reading. They'll give you all the information, every 10% accurate. They'll be like, this is your father. And then you go home and things start flying around your room, and you're like, oh, you're not supposed to be throwing stuff around my room. You're not even related to me. You care about me. And then you find out, okay, it wasn't really their dad. So when I do my readings and stuff, when I go in, there's a lot of prayer work that I do behind the scenes and nobody sees. There's a lot of stuff that I do in my walk to prepare for my safety and safety of others when I do my readings. One of the things that I see a lot on Facebook is people doing free readings on Facebook. People come on Facebook, I need a reading, and someone will, I'll give you one. That's dangerous, and I'll tell you why. One, you're asking a total stranger for a reading. You don't know what their background is. You don't know what their history is or their mental state. And two, you've got someone that you're doing a reading to that you don't know what their background is, their mental state, or their religious affiliation. And you might be able to Pandora's box, bring it on something yourself that you can hear it. It's just not a good thing to do. Now, I understand people need to practice, and people want to get better and improve themselves, and that's one way of doing it. It is, but I caution against it. The way I do my practicing, I do these radio shows. I'll have on to different readings for callers, and that's how I do my practice. That's how I fine tune my game. I don't do it just on Facebook, and do reading after reading after reading after reading. You're asking for trouble because you do 10 readings in a day, right? And then all of a sudden at 3 in the morning you wake up and you got something standing at the foot of your bed that you don't recognize. Okay? You just did 10 readings. You have no way of knowing where that thing came from and whose lives you just disrupted because this came through. You can cause problems. And so I don't know. I love people getting in the field. I want people to explore mediumship. I believe in mediumship. I know it's real, and I know that everyone has the ability to do what I can do. I just want people to believe that. I want people to approach it in a safe manner and in a common sense manner. And common sense says that there are good people in this world and there are bad people in this world. I don't walk down through downtown Houston at 2 a.m. For a reason. Because at 2 a.m. in downtown Houston, there are some very bad people. And I probably won't get very far. It's no different when you're working with spirits. If you just go blindly out there talking to all spirits, you're going to come across bad ones. You don't know who's going to come across the bad. And so you're opening yourself, you're exposing yourself to stuff where you may need to be rescued. Or your life is just going to go into chaos, complete chaos. Or even worse, if you can bring things on your family, you can bring things on your friends. And so it's one of those things where people, just because you saw a few episodes of whatever on TV, doesn't mean you should jump in. And I'm one that I had to learn some real hard lessons. And when I started doing readings, I would do them when I was young. And let me tell you, now that I know what I know about what I know, that's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Because one, your senses are dulled when you're intoxicated. You're not aware. You're not picking up on everything that you could be picking up on or should be picking up on, and you're blind.
Yeah.
And so when you're blind, they're going to run you over like a freight train. Or they'll just use you. You can be used like a puppet. And you're reading my show 100%. And the person might walk away going, man, this guy's a genius. Wow, how did he do that? How did I do that? And you don't realize that the information that you just obtained engaged that person was not from a dark entity, not from one of light, because you're not. You don't know. So it's one of those things where when you go into your readings, you got to remember, you are accepting the safety for yourself, your family members, your friends, and the person that you are doing the reading for. And if you don't accept that, and if you don't understand that you need to be safe for them, if you do a reading for someone and all of a sudden their life turns into chaos, or if they have something running around their room at night that you welcomed in, you've got to figure out what you did. And you have to help that person. That's your obligation as the medium. To unscrew what you screwed up. And if you don't know, if you were drunk when you were doing it, or if you did 10 readings that day, there's no way you can tell me that you know what you did. You can't keep track of 10 readings in a day. I can't. I can keep track of maybe 2, and I don't really remember anything when I do my readings. So I record them, and then I have to go back and listen. What did I say? What did I bring? What did I bring through on this? And if you're doing 10 readings a day on Facebook, you can't recontact these people. A lot of people will say, okay, see ya. And you never hear from them again, and their life is in chaos. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous practice. It's not healthy.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
I think we got to cut to a quick commercial break so we can get some sponsor words in. And when we come back, we'll hear more.
Awesome. I'll be here, brother.
Excellent.
And we're on commercial.
All right. I need coffee.
Coffee
Coffee and a cigarette. Sup, everyone. Welcome back to Ghost Chat Radio. I'm your host, the Paranormal Rebel, Jason Stanton. We still have Jeff Allen in the house. We're chatting with him about his abilities. What's it called? Some kind of cold or allergies or something. I don't fucking know. But we are chatting with him and some of his ventures and mishaps. Like we all have, I guess, in the paranormal field, we all have mishaps. I fucked up many, many times in my day. I ain't gonna lie. But hey, it is what it is. You live and you learn. That's what this field is about. So, welcome back to the show, Jeff.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Yeah, we're having a good time tonight. Hey, I wanted to touch off of something on that's been going on lately in the news that I kind of want to bring up. I noticed everyone's heard the last, a couple months ago we had that flight 370, that 777 to Malaysia.
Yeah, it went down, went disappearing, so forth and so on. It disappeared like a fart in the wind.
It really did, and it's still gone. And with all our technology, with everyone having a cell phone today, how is that thing still missing?
Wow, it could disappear. It is an interesting, I guess, story. And I think it's going to wind up making it into the history books.
I think it'll be found. I think we're going to find it eventually. But I've got a theory on what happened with that. And if I can, I'd like to throw this one out there. See, maybe they can talk about this in chat. Call me crazy if they want. But here's my take on what happened to that jet. And just give me a little bit of background as to why I've been even having an opinion on it. I'm a licensed pilot. I've had my pilot's license since I was 17 years old. So, I've got total time, maybe 350 hours, not a whole lot of hours, but I've got enough time in cockpit that I'm familiar with airplanes. I'm also the son of an airline pilot. My father was a United pilot. He flew 747, C-10, 727, DC-8, 757 for United Airlines for a number of years, 43 years. He retired about 10 years ago as standard captain on a 747. And a standard captain, what that does, what that means is a standard captain can rewrite the policy for the ship, for the aircraft. If he determines that something, if he looks at, in other words, if he looks at a process or a procedure and says, this is saving place life, I'm changing. He can rewrite that policy and have it rewritten officially for the airline and for that plane. That's how high up he was in safety. He was also head of Alpha during the 86 strike when United went on strike. He also worked in the training center. The man knows aircraft. He knows pressurized aircraft, and he knows jets, and he knows overseas flights. That's what he spent the majority of his career doing, flying in France to Tokyo to Australia to Hawaii. So I threw my theory by him. Now, my father in no way has any love for my gifted medium. He I don't want to say denies it, but he sure doesn't accept it. So he's not on board. Like in other words, he wasn't like, hey, you're a medium, let's put this all together and see what happens. I came up with a theory and I ran it by him. He doesn't want to say my theory is correct, but he can't deny it either. He can't say that can't happen. Now, when the flight first went missing, I was watching it on CNN, as most people did when the story broke. And I was standing there next to a friend of mine, and I said, I know what just happened on that plane. The captain depressurized that plane. He killed it. This is the captain. And he said, what? And I said, this is going to come out. I said, that plane depressurized. And I said, that when that plane hit the water, there's nobody was alive on that plane when it hit the water. And I said, there was not an explosion. I said, but there was a depressurization. I said, I don't understand. I said, it's going to unfold. And as the facts started to unfold, what really caught my attention was, about 2 months later, maybe, a month later, when we found out that plane, when the transponder was turned off, okay, the plane diverted course, right? And when that happened, the plane went up to 39,000 feet from where it was originally at. Now, when an aircraft changes altitude and course without notifying air traffic control, you're basically crossing lanes of traffic without looking. It's dangerous. You don't do that. You're asking to hit another aircraft because you're crossing into someone's lane of traffic without telling them. And by turning the transponder off, you're really playing the Russian roulette. Now, here's what happened. If that captain decided, and this is all speculation, and I hope to God I'm wrong. I hope to God that plane landed somewhere and everybody shows up and it's all a big misunderstanding. But here's my theory on what happened. That there may have been an interloper on board, but someone versed in that airplane, someone who knows the inner workings of that aircraft, would be able to, such as a captain, would be able to turn off that transponder, depressurize the cabin, and then when that depressurization occurs, the mask is going to drop. The passenger mask. You still there, Jason?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. When the depressurization occurs, the mask is going to drop. Okay? Passengers are going to freeze. Now, if the captain comes on and says, put your masks on, you'll be fine, don't, just relax. Please stay seated. That's not, people aren't going to rush the cabin. They're not going to rush the cockpit. Okay? Now, the passenger oxygen supply is only good for 5 minutes. The crew has a separate oxygen supply on that plane. Okay? So, a captain could technically depressurize that cabin, instruct the passengers to put on their masks, he's handling the problem, and then for him to elevate doesn't make sense. That would be purposefully done. And the only reason you would do that would be to deprive your occupants of oxygen. Because what happened was he changed course and then elevated to 39,000 feet from 35,000. So he even went up 4,000 or 5,000 more feet, where there was less oxygen and less outside air temp. And a captain would know that those passengers only had 5 minutes of oxygen before they ran out. Now, he kept that airplane, whoever was commandeering that airplane, kept that aircraft up at 39,000 feet for 20 minutes. Plenty long enough to kill everybody on board that airplane if that plane was depressurized. And then that plane descended down to 5,000 feet. Okay? Now, down below 12,500 feet, you're going to get oxygen. You can breathe again. So for him, he could have held those people up there at 39,000 feet, killed everyone, gone down to 5,000 feet, possibly jumped out, and then set the waypoints while he's up at 39,000. So basically, he's programmed the airplane. Come down to 5,000 feet, he could have parachuted out. Now, if you parachuted out, odds are, if you had conspirators, they want him dead. Nobody wants him to show up. Because if the captain all of a sudden shows up and no passengers do, there's going to be questions. So, odds are, if he wasn't on a suicide mission and did jump out, then so be it. Then someone got him, or he didn't survive the landing. Or, if he was on a suicide mission, it's very evident that that aircraft was routed around Indonesia. Why wouldn't it fly over Indonesia? Well, because what you want to do is you want to run that aircraft out of gas. Because if you run it out of gas, there won't be an oil slick. It'll be a lot harder to find. And in that Indian Ocean, it's the roughest ocean in the world. And there was a storm going on at the time. So no oil slick. That thing goes, if it runs out of gas, it's going to nose right in. And it's going to go right to the bottom. You're not going to have much debris. It's not going to cartwheel. And it's only very slow. And odds are it's going to go in like an arrow coming back to Earth. You ever shot a bow and arrow up in the air and the arrow comes back to Earth? It goes right down.
Yeah.
That aircraft, if it runs out of fuel, it's going to do the same. So that's my theory on this whole thing, is that my hunch is that the captain was in on it. The odd thing was, why was the co-pilot's cell phone the only one to hit a tower on the western bank of Malaysia? Why wouldn't the passenger's cell phone have hit that cell tower? And that's where to 39,000 feet. He was up there 20 minutes. That's a long time. If he had an interloper on board with him, he could have gone around and pulled everyone's batteries in their cell phones. Because no one's going to hide their cell phone. They're going to have them out trying to text. But when they changed course and went up, when the mast dropped, if he would have dropped the mast when he turned off the transponder, there are no cell towers out there. There's nobody's cell phone could get anything out. They would have been stuck trying to paint. They would have been stuck in sand and trying to hit a tower. But if he pulls those batteries, if someone pulls the batteries and you get back over land, those cell phones are useless. They're not going to try to hit the tower. Now, if someone forgot to pull the battery on the co-pilot, or if the co-pilot was in on it, then that's why the co-pilot's phone hit the tower. But they're not saying that he tried to send a text. All they're saying is that it registered at the tower. It didn't say that any activity went through it. So
They never found the plane.
they still haven't found it.
Yeah.
Still have not.
A lot of the conspirators are saying they took it someplace and they're hiding it. My question is, the biggest puzzle in my mind is, what's so special about that fucking plane that anyone would want?
Exactly. And let me tell you, and you know how difficult it would be to transport a 777 when everyone in the world is looking for it? It's impossible. Someone's going to see it. It's going to be picked up.
Yeah.
No, nobody's moving that airplane. That airplane has not been found by anybody.
There's definitely other cooler airplanes out there that they could steal.
Yeah. And if it was something that they were looking for intelligence or technology, they wouldn't steal a civilian aircraft. It'd be a military aircraft. There's no hidden technology on a 777. That's open. Boeing will give you the plans for it. You can hack Boeing's website. It's a lot easier than trying to hijack a plane. So, and then what would be your motive? And now, that brings up a good question. Being a former police officer, I'm always looking for motives. What's the motive behind all this? Why? Why would the captain do something like this? If I'm right, why would he do this? Well,
Yeah.
was it a training mission? Was it to see that, maybe it was to see, hey, let's try this, let's keep it hush-hush, and let's see if we can get away with it. Well, guess what? You know what the answer is? They got away with it. Because nobody's found it, nobody's been convicted, nobody's been charged, no one's even claimed responsibility for it. Okay? In the past, there's always been a group that claimed a responsibility for a hijacking or a bomb. Well, I think they're getting a little wiser. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, why don't we keep our mouths shut on this for a minute, and we can do this a lot more often if nobody knows that we're doing it. So, is it possible that was there a terrorist organization that just got to the captain? Possibly. Was there a religious group that got to him? Possibly. Was the captain just crazy and acted alone? I kind of doubt that. I kind of doubt it. Is there something that they know about the captain that maybe the Malaysian government knows that they're not telling? Absolutely. I absolutely firmly believe that. I believe there's something involved in the crew that the Malaysian government does not want out because it'll strike pandemonium with air traffic. Because now, if we have, say for instance, if we have captains out there, or if we feel that because of our captain's religious affiliation, I'm afraid to get on that airplane because we may be a suicide bomb. That's going to cause panic, and that's going to disrupt the airline industry. And let's face it, the airline industry has had a lot of black eyes over the last 15, 20 years. We've had drunk pilots. We've had people slip through security with really crazy stuff. And so the public's confidence in air traffic isn't very strong right now. So for something to come out that now we have to question our pilot's background, or maybe go through every pilot and check their background, check their internet traffic, what are they posting on Facebook? What are they, in other words, I want, people will demand a full background check on their pilots before they board an airplane, and we can't have that. We have to trust that the airlines are hiring competent pilots that aren't going to kill people. When you recruit from the human race. When you recruit anything from the human race, you're going to get some jerks in there. You're going to get some guys who have ulterior motives. Absolutely. guys snap. You also got to think now. This was done at approximately 3 in the morning, right? When the sun was missing. Okay, at that time of day, there isn't much air traffic going on, and the pilot knows that. And so a pilot could feel a little bit more confident crossing those lanes of traffic on his own and not being discovered, because there's not as much traffic going on there. Also, you have less eyes watching radar screens at that time of day because there's a lot less air traffic. So you don't have as many air traffic controllers. You also have Malaysia, Indonesia, that doesn't have as current equipment, as current radar as we would say for here in the United States. They have functional equipment, but not as, their coverage isn't as good as we would have here in the United States. So their ability to track. And then you also have a complex arrangement with Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Japan. You've got different countries all having to monitor and communicate with each other. Countries don't do that a whole lot. I mean, when you're crossing different countries and handing off traffic to one another, once you hand off that airplane to another country, it's off your radar, it's out of sight, out of mind. You don't even care about it anymore. You're concerned with what's on your radar, not with what's off your radar. You handed that off. So and then you have, you throw in the fact that you don't have very many people watching radar screens at that time of day. And you also, and I hate to say this, you could have a crew member taking a nap. That happens. The public doesn't know about it, but there have been times when pilots have taken a nap and let the other guy fly. That happens, especially at 3 in the morning. They're human. People get tired, and we don't know. It still hasn't been released. What did the pilot do, and what did the co-pilot do that day? What did they have for lunch that day? Were they poisoned? We don't know. Nothing's been released. And somebody knows something. Somebody knows something about this. They're not talking. And I think it's all going to come out. Eventually, they're going to find that aircraft. Now, the other interesting thing, the data flight recorder, the cockpit voice recorder, right, on a 2-hour loop. Okay? So every 2 hours, it's going to record over itself.
I think they're going to wind up finding it eventually. I think that's going to happen. I don't agree with a lot of the other conspirators out there. Like I said, they all believe that it's hidden somewhere, and maybe the Taliban took it. Who the fuck knows? Whatever the hell they believe. I don't think that's the case because, let's just face it, there's nothing special about that plane at all. They go to you can buy those at auction at any time of the year. They're not a special airplane. There's nothing about them that's special at all.
Right.
So I'm
technology isn't secret, you know. And so to try to steal a plane full of people with the technology doesn't make sense. That theory doesn't hold water at all. Because why would you put yourself out there as a group just to try to commandeer some technology? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So
why would you risk you risk your entire life of being tortured for something they can, like I said, they can buy at auction for $150,000.
Exactly. And an organization that would try to that would need that type of information is going to have money anyway. They're going to be able to.
Oh yeah. They're definitely going to have money.
Yeah, they're going to have money. So they're going to be able to get that technology, and they're going to get it quietly. And who's to say they didn't get the technology, and that's how they learned that, passengers only have 5 minutes of oxygen.
Yeah.
And then you ask, why would the passengers only have 5 minutes of oxygen? Well, because if you depressurize the plane, the first thing the captain is taught to do is bring that plane down below 12,000 feet so your passengers can get oxygen. I don't care if the service ceiling on that thing is 42,000. It doesn't take 5 minutes to drop 42,000, 12,000. You can drop 30,000 feet in about 2 minutes. So, and that's what they're trained to do. So that's, and once you're below 18,000, you're still going to get oxygen. So you're not going to kill anybody. They might just feel a little dizzy, until you get down below 12.5. And then once you get below 12.5, they're going to feel fine. like they're standing outside. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, for this to have occurred, and also to turn off a transponder. Now, there's with transponders and BLTs, emergency listening transmitters, and all that. Captains are versed on that, so it's true. Now, a transponder is an old piece of technology that's been around for a long time, but it's a very effective one. What that transponder is designed to do is to put a fingerprint on the aircraft on the radar. Before you take off, when you're on the runway, when you're doing your pre-flight, the air traffic control gives you a transponder code. It's a 4-digit code, and you put that in. So from 1 to 9999, they assign you a number, and that's your number for the flight, and that is your identifier on his radar screen. Is okay, that's Malaysia Flight 370, and he's pinging 721. Okay, and then what happens is on the aircraft there's a button on that transponder, and you can push that button, and it automatically it makes the radar screen light up. And then what will happen is they come on, air traffic control will come on the radio and say, hey, go ahead and they'll tell you to squawk 799T. And what that means is turn the transponder to 799T and hit the button. And boom, that lights up on their screen. They go, that's their confirmation that, okay, you heard me, and two, I can see you. So now we're good. Now I know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a code there are different codes that you can put in there that tells air traffic control different things are occurring on that flight at certain times. Okay, there are different emergency codes that you can put in. You don't need to broadcast it, but pilots know what codes these are on the transponders. Tell tower something's going on, and I can't talk on the microphone. I can't pick up the mic right now and talk. There's something going on that you need to know. Something's happening here. We're either hijacked or there's a code for hijacking. There's a code for an emergency. There's different codes that you learn as a pilot to program in there. That way, if he's not a hijacker, he comes in and you go, okay, yeah, and you just kind of casually reach up, turn that on, and boom, tower knows what's going on in that cockpit. You didn't say a word, but that guy didn't see you with the mic and sing. But on the ground, they're scrambling. That didn't occur. Yeah. What occurred was that transponder was turned off, and then that plane changed course. That's someone who's very, very versed in flying. Someone who's a pilot or who's been trained to fly aircraft. And yeah. So that's someone, because if I put you on an airplane and say, hey, run up there and turn off the transponder, you're going to look at me and go, I don't know what you just said. Nor do I know where to find it. And I'd be like, okay, get out of my way. I'll go do it. So for someone to do that, that's someone who's been trained.
Yeah. It could have been quite possible, too, that the pilot went through a temporary type of vertigo situation.
Absolutely. And here's that plane, when it changed course, they changed altitude, but it was very deliberate. And the other thing was, is it went up to 39,000 feet and stayed there. Someone who is not a pilot, I'm telling you right now, the first thing is on your first day of flight lessons, okay, you learn how to fly straight and level. It's one of the most difficult things to learn how to do because altitude changes when you're at speed and at altitude are so much. You can drop and raise it about 200 feet in just a second. So learn to fly, keep that on a certain altitude and straight and level. It's difficult to do. Now, could the autopilot do that? Could we use the autopilot to take much of that heading and altitude? Absolutely. But that's there again. Jason, if I put you in that cockpit and tell you, take me to heading 270 and climb me to flight level 390, you're going to look at me and go, what did you just say? So it's someone who is trained. And that's someone who is trained on setting the altitude hold and then setting waypoints for someone who knew how to manipulate a cockpit. Knew how to navigate. And also, if you got you've got the 2-hour data voice recorder in the cockpit, okay, which records everything that's said in the cockpit in the crew. That's only a 2-man crew. It's not a 47, which has a 3-man crew. It's a 2-man crew. That's an co-pilot. Okay, it's not very difficult to drug a co-pilot or drug somebody. It's not. You put them in their coffee. Now, I'm exhausted. You got this leg, waking up and this leg's over, I'll fly the next. So it's not, it wouldn't be uncommon for a stewardess to walk up to the cabin and see the co-pilot maybe taking a nap. And it's not, they don't broadcast this to the public because nobody wants to think that their pilots are sleeping. But it wouldn't be uncommon for a stewardess, and it wouldn't get her attention. So long as the captain was awake. Now, if they were both asleep, that's a problem. The stewardess is going to say something. But if the captain's awake and the co-pilot looks like he's sleeping, because he's been drugged, the stewardess isn't going to say anything. He gets the next flight. I'm flying this flight. So it's not going to raise her attention. She's not the captain. Her job is to listen to the captain. That's it. And the bottom line is the whole crew is trained that the captain's word is God. It is his aircraft. You see what he says, doesn't matter. If he comes on the radio and says, I know the mast just dropped, I'm taking care of it, put the mask on and stay seated. He would instruct his crew in the back to stay seated as well. He can kill them too. So, and they would stay seated because he's the captain. They know that they have to listen to him. They trust him. So this would be very easy for a captain to pull off, unfortunately.
Another interesting thing that people tend to neglect is, take something like the Bermuda Triangle. Aircrafts and ships, they get lost in them all the time. And then, 50, 60 years later, they wind up going down and say, oh, shit, there's that plane we were looking for. That does happen, you know what I mean? So, it might be that same situation. 40 years from now, 50 years from now, they go diving and say, oh, shit, there's that 7, whatever the fuck it is, right down here at the bottom of the ocean.
Exactly. How long we've been looking for Amelia Earhart's plane, we still haven't found it.
Yeah.
And, everyone in the world was looking for her, and still has been looking for her. There have been search teams and theories and all this, and they still haven't found it. We're looking for a proverbial needle in a universe is what we're looking for. Not a haystack, but a universe. And so, everyone thinks, oh, it's a big airplane. You should be able to find it. Well, it's not if you can't see it with a satellite. And you can't see anything underwater with satellites. You can see it on land, but not underwater.
Yeah, and we can only go so far underneath the ocean floor.
Exactly. And that Indian Ocean has some really deep parts to it. And a captain or a pilot will know those deepest parts and can set waypoints to it. So the captain and co-pilot will know how much fuel it'll take to get to that point. And it'll know about where that airplane is going to run out of fuel. So he's going to set the throttles, and he's going to know the fuel consumption. And it's going to tell him, you got 3 hours and 7 minutes left before this thing is in the water. And if you run it out of fuel, you don't have an oil spill. And a captain's going to know that. Also, the other side to that is the captain knows that every 2 hours, that cockpit voice recorder is going to report over itself. It's going to erase it. Now, I asked my father about this. I said, what doesn't make sense is the voice recorder. And he said, you know what? He goes, with today's technology, they can recover everything on that voice recorder. It doesn't get recorded over. They'll be able to find bits and pieces of today's computer technology if they can find the data voice recorder. The other thing that you run into problems with is salt water and electronics. Salt water is deadly on electronics.
Salt water is deadly on anything that involves metal.
Yeah, it's corrosive. So the minute it goes in, it's anything that's got a battery, that needs a battery like the ELCs, the voice recorders, all that, it's going to start eating away the minute it hits the water. It'll just start eating. Now, the impact from the crash will also do that and could break some things that make the water get to it a lot easier and accelerate to the damage. So if my theory is correct on what happened, it's scary because there's no way to combat it. There's no way to combat future occurrences of this. There's no way. You literally will be at your captain and co-pilot's mercy on that plane. And I really feel like the government does this, and they don't want to cause mass panic by releasing this information. But I also think they don't know where the plane is. And so why release this theory unless you can prove this theory is correct by locating the plane, proving that it's turning an airplane?
What I don't like is when people release a theory without any kind of knowledge to support it.
Right. And then you got, or don't have the background or the experience or the education to speak to it. And that's where I was like, man, if there's anybody on the face of this earth, between my father and I, we can find this thing. With his background and my background in law enforcement and being a pilot and being a medium who's located bodies, I firmly believe, I know in my heart, that if I can get on a 777 and refly that route, I know I can track them. Because there's so many souls that were on that plane that died. Somebody's going to get in touch with me. Someone's going to guide me. I believe that if I can get a shot at finding that plane, I can find it. But I don't know. It's one of those things where everyone, I think my theory is about the most credible theory out there to date. I've heard a lot of different theories, and I've run this theory by my old man, and as much as he doesn't want to believe in my mediumship and my gift, just this theory is an interesting theory, but he's leaving it to, he said, let's just wait till they find the plane. Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely know. When the plane comes up, then we'll be able to say, hey, that's what happened.
But how cool would it be if I was the one to find it? That's what I want.
That would be cool.
Because, man, that would bring a lot of closure to a lot of people. It would also prove my mediumship. Because
well, I don't know if it'll bring closure unless we got the people over there. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but those people are dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's your closure. Your family members are gone. You don't need a body to know that.
Yeah, they're not gonna shit pop up on Christmas and go, hey, you know what? We forgot to call.
Yeah.
Right. We landed at this island and we had some fruit and we were making Mai Tais and we forgot. We should call. That's not gonna happen. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows that there's none of those people, none of those spirits that were on that plane are going to reappear anytime. But
It's not reappearing yet, but
yeah. But these families deserve to know the truth. They need to, the public needs the truth. What happened? Why aren't we finding out the truth? Why aren't these details being released? Why isn't the crew's background being released? Why aren't we talking? Was the stewardess go crazy? Did a mechanic snore himself up underneath the cargo bin and then go crazy and commandeer the plane? Did a passenger go crazy? Maybe a passenger with some flying experience over the pilot's license go crazy, or
yeah.
And so there are a lot of theories about all this, and I know that it's going to come out. The truth's going to come out, and the reason there's got to be a reason that plane changed course, and the reason transponder was turned off. It did not malfunction. And even if the transponder just malfunctioned, you're going to have, why would the plane change course? The plane will still arrive. That plane can fly and navigate just fine and arrive at its destination with no transponder. So this is a deliberate act done by some very bad people for some unknown reason. And my theory is this is a training mission. And that's what scares me. That this is a training mission to see if it's possible, if it could be done, if people could get away with it. Then they're sitting back there going, okay, 3 months, it's been maybe, 3-4 months now, they're sitting there making plans to do it again. And that's what's really scary. And I don't know, we really, the government hasn't released any information. And why? Why aren't they releasing the information?
Well, the government may not know.
They may not know, but if there are questions out there, such as, okay, what kind of Google searches were the captain and co-pilot doing the week before, the month before? What was their internet activity like? There's no privacy problems now because they're dead. If they all of a sudden appear and want to sue, even better. Then we'll get our answers. But, why haven't we been told, hey, this guy, he was a great guy, he's a great dad, we checked his internet activity, we checked his email, and he's innocent. We checked the co-pilot, he's innocent. We checked the passengers, they're all innocent. None of these come out. And so I really feel like they're waiting for this to kind of be pushed under the table and washed away and hope it never happens again. And then eventually we'll find the plane and, oh, well, guess what? The captain went a little crazy and he killed everybody. But he didn't drop the map. He just went off course and went on a suicide mission and dumped everyone into the water, and that was that.
Yeah.
That happened with the Egypt. It was the Egypt Air flight back in, a number of years ago, where the crew member he was on a suicide. He lost his mind when he crashed the plane in the water. He nosedived right down, and they did prove that he just was suicidal. Now, he was suicidal in a way that it wasn't very well planned out. Because, everything, all the information and all the recording data and everything proved that, he was suicidal and just lost his mind. So different.
Yeah.
This is a lot more methodical. Something happened here that is a lot more planned out and premeditated. For this plan to have hatched in someone's mind, someone sat on it a while. Someone sat and thought this out for a long time. And it was uneffective because he made that course. He waited till he was way out over water to make that course. Why? Why wouldn't he just go right from kickoff and just, hey, it's my plane now. Come get me. You know what I mean? Why all of a sudden 2 hours into the flight, let's do it here out over water? Well, a captain's going to know your cell phone. Nobody's cell phone going to hit anything out there.
Yeah.
And I'm real curious to know when the co-pilot's cell phone hits what tower, at what time, at what altitude, and what was transmitted to that tower. Did the text actually get out? And if the text got out, what did it say? Because they said that the co-pilot's cell phone pinged a tower. Was he trying to send something, or was the cell phone just trying to reach a tower? And why didn't it reach a tower on the east end of Malaysia? Why did it hit the west end? Well, now he was up at 39,000 feet. He's not going to hit a tower up there at that altitude. Now down at 5,000, you can hit a tower. That was 39,000. Even if the co-pilot is trying to send out a text, it's not going to get out. You're too high up. It's line of sight to the tower, and being that high up, you're going too fast. You're passing too many towers too quick. The speed it's not going to register on a tower because you're going by them too quick. Now, if he slows down that aircraft at 5,000 feet, slow enough to where that cell phone could actually ping it, why would he slow the aircraft down to jump out? Now, the guy hasn't surfaced. No one's ever said he's seen him. So if he did jump out, he's dead. He didn't make it. This would be like the D.B. Cooper, the D.B. Cooper thing, where he thought he could make it and did. And where he jumped out was pretty vegetative area. And they got a lot of killer snakes out in Malaysia. You don't want to be spending a night or two out in the jungle out there. Or if he was going to jump out, that means someone was waiting for him. And odds are, if this was a training mission, the guys were like, yeah, we'll come pick you up, take you back, and you'll be fine. And they'll convince him of that, but they're going to want him dead. They're going to be like, okay, here, come over here. Boom, boom. Okay, you don't need to surf. Because that'll ruin our plan. I don't know. It's my theory that I think he may have jumped out, but if he jumped out, someone killed him, or he dropped below 5,000 feet because he would starve of oxygen himself, and he knew below 5,000 he'd get plenty of oxygen, and then he just went on a suicide mission and wrote it out. Now, you notice he went around Indonesia, but he went across Malaysia. Doesn't make sense. Okay? Well, you go around Indonesia so you can burn off fuel. And by the time he hit Indonesia, if he would have crossed Indonesia, he would have known they would have already been looking for that plane. because that plane would have been missing. It would not have gone into Vietnam airspace. They wouldn't have been able to find it on Vietnam radar. So while they're looking for it on Vietnamese radar, if he crosses Indonesia land, they're going to pick him up on radar. And they're going to say, oh, he's over here. What are you doing over here? You're supposed to be in Vietnam. You're way off course. That's a great question.
And there's a lot of psychological issues that, wind up getting, I guess, inherited to pilots for some odd reason. And that could very much well put them off course.
Yep. And that's just it. A pilot would know, hey, if I cross back over, and also, this could be someone familiar with the terrain. Stay out of this country. A passenger isn't going to know, okay, Indonesia's coming up, okay, in 2 hours, and we're going to need to go around it. This is someone that I need to go around Indonesia and knew how to do it, knew how to navigate that thing. 4 waypoints were set. And it wouldn't be hard for the captain to take that thing up to 39,000 feet, set waypoints, jump into the cabin, start pulling people's cell phones, start pulling batteries on their cell phones, because everyone will have them out. They'll be sitting in their lap. They won't be hidden. They'll be texting because the masks drop. They're going to be trying to text their relatives going, hey, something's wrong with the plane. But those texts won't get out. And so if he sets those waypoints, he knows exactly where to put those waypoints to get around Indonesia that'll bring in absolutely no attention. And it'll run that jet out of fuel. And boom, then there's no trace. A captain can even kill ELTs, the emergency locate transmitters. So this was someone who was trained to fly a 777, who commandeered this airplane. And what it was turned, and that transponder was shut off. It was someone who was trained to fly a 777 that shut that transponder off and took over the navigation of that airplane. So that's 100%, without a doubt. And so if that doesn't fall on the captain or the co-pilot, and the fact that the co-pilot's cell phone pinged a tower, it tells me that the co-pilot wasn't in on it. He couldn't have been. Otherwise, a text would have gone out. As soon as it pinged the tower, as soon as it, boom, it would have been like, hey.
Yeah.
So, and if there was a struggle in the cockpit...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I really feel like the captain acted alone on this and took out the co-pilot. I feel like...
Anyone there?
Yep, you hear me? Jason?
That storm must have been blowing through.
Okay, can you hear me? Jason? Dave?
Hello? You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so that's just kind of my little theory on what happened to that plane. Now, the $1 million question: where is it? Where is it? And,
yeah.
Yep. And I feel like even though they've searched, that Indian Ocean is huge, man. He could have dropped that thing anywhere in there, and you're literally looking for a needle in the universe. So, and if it did skip a little bit and bust up a little bit with no oil slick, and it'll be even harder to find. And sure, yeah, you'll have floatables that should appear, but you're talking this thing went down during a storm. Those floatables, they got destroyed. They can get waterlogged, sink, or be attached to something that's. And if the passengers' feedback, which are floatable, if those were all still contained in the cabin when the plane hit the water, they're sitting right there at the bottom of the ocean with everything else. They won't float. So, and they did release. They had 2 tons of cell phone batteries or laptop batteries on board that plane. That's heavy. So even when that thing ran out of fuel, there was a lot of weight to pull that thing down quick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theories. I mean, it's a theory. I would love to. I'll entertain anybody's theory on this. I would love to be proven wrong because I would hate to think that we might have crew members that could be capable of doing something like this. But especially having a father and a grandfather who were both airline pilots. Grandfather was an airline pilot for American way back when, flying long line of pilots. So I hate to think that any of them could even cross their flying to do something like this. To command a plot like this, so sinister. It's unfathomable to me. But when this occurred, I looked at my friend and I said, "It has to be pressurized." And he goes, "What?" I said, "I'm telling you." I said, "I felt it. I felt that plane pressurized, and it's not an explosion." I said, "This is different. This is really different. This is going to be different." He's like, "I don't find it. It's probably a terrorist and they blew up the plane." I'm like, "No, this is different. This is going to be different." And it's turning out that it is. And the fact that nobody has come forward, no group has come forward to claim it, is another thing that's scary as hell. Because if this is something that's a terrorist-type group that's responsible for it and they're not claiming it, that means that they're learning. That means they're learning to keep their yaps shut. And these guys love to thrive on the attention. That's where they get their money and they get their sense of, oh, we won from this when they get the recognition for pulling these bombs. But if they're learning to not take recognition for it and still do it anyways, that's a scary, scary thing. That's something real dangerous.
Yeah.
So, it's just kind of my theory on it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope all of a sudden everybody just goes, "Hey, man, we landed on an island. Our cell phones were dead. We had no electricity. We've been eating coconuts. I've been hanging out with Gilligan. We're waiting for you guys to find us." Hopefully that's the case. I pray to God that's the case. But I really believe that I thought the plane would be found by now. And you never know. There can be some conspiracy theorists out there that'll say the plane has been found. The government doesn't want to release this information. They're trying to figure out how they're going to break it to us. Or that they never want to break it to us, and that plane is buried. But I don't think that they were ever going to. I don't think any group or any government can transport that plane anywhere without getting some satellite getting picked up. Because it's too big an airplane, and everybody in the world was looking for it. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of, I don't know. We're just going to have to kind of wait and see. But I really feel like before the end of this year, I felt like before the end of May, it would have been found. But I feel like it's coming. But, we also have this thing of kind of out of the media. As soon as Putin stole Ukraine, Crimea, this kind of went bye-bye. We didn't see much of it on the news anymore. Even though there were Americans on board that plane. There were nationalities from all over the world on that plane.
Yeah.
So for a terrorist organization to want to make a move against the world, which ISIS seems to be making now, this would be a good way to do it, to keep everybody on their toes and not get carpet bombed by every government in the world by claiming it. That's the other thing. If this comes out and claims this, they're going to be governments lining up to carpet bomb. So what cave are you in? Okay, we're coming. You're going after civilians. We don't play that. You don't go after military, that's one thing. But going after civilians, the world doesn't like that. So I really feel like, I don't know, we're just going to have to see, but it's an interesting theory, man. What's your take? You think this thing holds water? You think this theory has any validity to it?
Yeah. I think there could be some validity to it. I think you could be right. I don't agree with a lot of the conspiracy theories out there. I mean, because like I said, there is nothing special about that plane, and there was nothing special about the people that were on it. I know they're special to somebody, everybody, but you're not looking at somebody like Eddie Murphy or the President of the United States or somebody that's valuable to someone else other than family. And a plane is just a basic plane. Like I said, you can go ahead and purchase one of those on auction. Anyone can. And personally, you may be right. Let's just say the plane ran out of gas. Does all the electronics stay on when it runs out of gas when the plane shuts down?
No, not necessarily. Now, but you know what? The APU, I'm going to have, that's a question that I need to ask a professional, an expert, because I can't answer that.
That would be a good question, too. If you ran out of gas and the engine shut down,
I mean, if the electronics aren't on, they're not going to be able to follow it.
Right. And you know what? Because usually what happens is those airplanes need a jump from needs an electrical jump in the morning from the APU. And so to start the engine. So if those engines run out of fuel completely at altitude, does it shut down the electronic equipment? I'm going to have to find out. I'll have to find an answer to that, because that's an interesting question. Now, would it kill the ELPs? No. The ELPs have a separate battery source. They have their own batteries. Just like the pingers have their own batteries. But they're limited, and salt water can drain those real quick if they get.
Yeah, salt water will destroy anything. You could throw a battery and salt water attached to something, and within 5 minutes, them terminals are eroded.
Yep, and it's useless. And unless they've recovered cell phones in salt water, but you know what? No one's recovered it. It's done. You know.
Yeah.
So if they were banking, whoever did this, if they were banking on, well, the salt water will destroy it in a week, they're right. You know, they won. Their theory worked. In other words, my whole thing is that this isn't a terroristic act. They won. They pulled it off. It worked, because nobody's gone to jail and the plane hasn't been found. So let's strike one up for the bad guys if this was done by a bad guy. If this was done by just someone going bananas, you know, well, we need to find out what they did so that we can do maybe a little more psychological background into, well, if it was done by a crew member, then this is going to open Pandora's box. But, you know, I hate, because I come from a long lineage of pilots and friends that are pilots. And my best friend growing up is the United Airlines pilot right now. So, you know, my heart goes out to pilots, and I believe that their hearts are in the right place. They will die for protecting their passengers, not the other way around.
Yeah. Here's another good point, too. Let's just say the conspiracies are right, and some Taliban or other group stole the plane. That is actually asinine if you think about it, because they're going to want to do things as secretly as possible until they let out their entire plan, whatever it may be, attack the U.S. again or whatever. They're going to try to keep everything as secret as possible. Stealing a 10,000-ton fucking thing to try to maneuver it across the country to wherever they need to be, it isn't exactly, keeping it discreet. It's not going to be.
It's not a low-profile move.
It's not a low-profile operation at all. So they're taking a huge risk of getting busted.
Right.
Then the whole plan of attack has been foiled.
And everybody knows that plane, as soon as a plane doesn't arrive at its destination, even though it was a 6-hour planned flight, 6 hours ain't that much time. I mean, come on. If that thing doesn't show up, an hour or two after it's supposed to, people are going to ask questions, because people are looking for their loved ones. So it's one of those deals where when these jerks usually do terroristic stuff, they're like, yeah, we're just going to blow it up, and that's that. And so it's what they claim responsibility, and they're like, hey, don't worry about it. Your loved ones ain't coming home. They blew up. Here's how it happened. Here's the wreckage, the whole 9 yards, and they're going to know it. And so I just feel like there's so much more of the terror. There's so many more terrorist groups that are showing up now. They're getting smarter, and they're getting funding. From where, I don't know. You can put that's a whole other conspiracy theory. You can put that on, but
everything seems to mysteriously happen. People automatically chalk it up to a conspiracy. The 9/11, they call it an attack. It wasn't an attack, people. I'm sorry to say. Them planes going into the towers was not an attack at all. Stop saying it's not. An attack is when you jump on someone, beat the shit out of them, and you keep going until they can no longer walk. No, they just flew a couple planes and it didn't even, put a scratch on us. That wasn't an attack. That was saying, hey, these guys are dicks. This is what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to make sure that you know that I think you're a dick. That's all that was. That's it. It wasn't an attack at all.
And you know what? The Taliban...
People have conspiracies on that, and they're outrageous. Was government involved in that? Maybe. However, they've gone to the point where they say, oh, they hung this giant blue screen in the air, and it wasn't planes. No, dude, planes hit those towers. I don't care what you say. I live 70 miles away. Planes hit them fucking towers. Bottom line. There was a lot of people dead. There was a lot of smoke. There was 2 charred airplanes sitting in the middle of the road. They hit the towers.
Yeah, and it's the same people that'll say that we didn't walk on the moon either. That was a sound stage. And I'm like, no, come on, man. This was eyewitnesses. This occurred.
So conspiracy theories will turn everything into a conspiracy. Do I think the government's a bunch of assholes? Absolutely. I agree with you with that. Do I think they fuck the American people on purpose? Absolutely. I agree with you with that.
Do you think they flew 2 airplanes into the World Trade Center? No.
No. Do I think they could have been behind? Sure, they could have been behind it, but they didn't stage anything. If you're going to spend billions and billions of dollars to make it look like a plane hit the Twin Towers, why not just fly the planes into the Twin Towers and save yourself billions of dollars?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It makes no sense.
Yeah. And that's why, it's now that we have some facts about this flight, and I mean, I had this theory all along. I documented it when it first occurred. And then when they said that the plane changed course and went up to flight level 390, it went up to 39,000 feet, I said, okay. And that didn't come out until about, 2 months after it went missing. I said, why is this now just coming out? This should have come out that day. They knew this back then. Why did this take so long to come out? This is very relevant to the plane missing. That the plane went up in altitude, not down. When planes blow up, they don't go up. Okay? When planes have emergencies, they don't go up. They go down. So for this to elevate and to stay elevated for 20 minutes means there was nothing wrong with that airplane. Nothing. Absolutely nothing wrong when that transponder turned off. So there was nothing malfunctioning. There wasn't anything going on. This was intentional. This was manipulated, and this was someone who knew how to fly a 777, and who knew how to navigate one, and who knew how to work the navigational equipment with one, and who was privy to the amount of oxygen on board. And say the plane didn't decompress. All right, let's throw that theory completely out. Why then change course and go to 39,000 feet? That's suicide. You're crossing lanes of traffic without permission. You didn't get clearance to do that. You could have jumped right in front of another airplane, and it could have flown right through you. You could have blown up both planes.
Yeah.
So this is someone who knew how to put his head outside the cockpit and look for blinky lights out there and go, okay, I don't see anything. There's nothing here. Or it's someone who's very familiar with the routes that knew the jet routes that during that time of day there won't be much traffic on. So he's probably okay doing it. Now you do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to hit somebody, and there's too much traffic. 3 a.m. there isn't. You can stick your head out there and look for blinky lights and say, I don't see any blinky lights. Let's do it.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'd love to continue this conversation, but we're down to the last few minutes, and I want to make sure that all your information gets out to the public.
Wow, time went flying by, brother. Yeah. If people would like to get a hold of me, they can reach me at my number at 409-443-8517. They can call or text me, leave me a message. I'm also available on Facebook. I've got my personal webpage. You can is www.jeffallen. It's GEOFFALLEN.weebly, and it's spelled at WDEDLY.com. It has information about how to get a reading from me, how to contact me. I do missing persons, objects, do channeling. Most of the fun stuff I like to do. I also have work if you've got sticking around your house you want to on. I can help you with that, or attachments and stuff. I've assisted on all kinds of stuff. I'm not very holy, but I know some people that are that can help if there's really ugly stuff going on. I've got information. You can also check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/Island Clairvoyant, all one word. And then if you find me on my personal page, there's always funny stuff going on that's non-media stuff on my personal page. But you can always ask me questions. I'm available pretty much 24/7. So it's a lot of fun. I love doing readings. We always have fun when I do readings. I usually do a little bit of past, present, future. We do precognitive stuff. I do numerology in my readings. We always have a lot of fun. I am a Christian. I'm not a good one, but I try. So I don't employ anything non-Christian. I don't do tarot or Ouija boards or anything like that. It's just me. Just me. I do what I do. But I appreciate you having me on tonight, man. It was a lot of fun. We got to talk about some really cool stuff. I'm glad I could help out and fill in for you when you needed a guest, man. I'd love to come back anytime. You still there, Jason? Jason, did I lose you?